everybody. Just a reminder that in about 10 minutes, we've got our first check-in at 2 o'clock. I know it's not been running the entire time that we anticipated, but we'll still check in at the top of every hour starting at 2 and see where we stand. We'll see you in a few minutes. Hey folks, how's it going? It's coming up on 2 o'clock right now and almost time for our first check-in of the day. I'm Chris Parker, your managing producer here at CNET, running the Samsung Galaxy... No, excuse me, that's what I did last time, huh? This is the Motorola Razr. If you were here at the beginning of the show, we had Brian and Lexi and Kent give us an unboxing, and we started the machine in motion. We had a little bumps in the road with getting the machine going, as you can may be able to notice. The machine isn't folding it all the way every time, and I tried to do some adjustments and couldn't quite get it to do what we thought it was going to do. This is an experiment, of course. Like I said before, we borrowed this machine from Square Trade, who builds these machines to test products for the purposes of their warranties that they provide. They did not have the opportunity to get a Razr before our test today, so they have not actually put this phone in this machine yet. They were kind enough to let us borrow it first. So we are finding that it's maybe not 100% dialed in, but I'm sure that once they get it in their hands, they'll figure that out. In the meantime, we're going to keep this test running, go with what we know is happening, and then that in itself is a test. It's an experiment. But it looks like there's a 2 o'clock yet, almost. At 2 o'clock, I'm going to stop the machine. I'm going to take a look at the screen. Since the screen is actually on, I may not actually bother taking it out since we've got it kind of in a sweet spot at the moment. So I'll just give it a little inspection and we'll see how it's looking. Actually, you know what? I will take it out because I want to see how the hinge feels in my hands. Let's go ahead and do that right now. We are just past 10,000 folds, so we're going to stop the machine now. And it hasn't fallen into a million pieces yet, which is good.
It's still on, too, and it's going strong. I'm not seeing anything like any sort of screen issue.
No, there's no visible indication that anything weird is happening. Here you can see if we fold it. Oh, can you hear that?
They were saying that the review units did that too.
There have been several reports from a lot of people in the public who've had this phone for a couple days now, and some review units that, yes, they started developing this squeak in the hinge. Patrick Holland, who's going to be writing our full review for the CNET, asked me to keep an eye out for this, and sure enough, there it is.
So how many times do you think you folded it right there? Like another 15, 20?
Yeah.
We'll add that to the number.
This number, of course, is not going to be 100% precise. But if I'm just looking at it here, I see no increase in the ever so slightly visible crease in the plastic screen. Besides the noise, the motion feels good. The screen is perfectly intact. No dead pixels, nothing display-wise being affected. So that's a good sign. I'm going to go ahead and try and power it off. What we are finding is that the FoldBot keeps turning it on itself. So I'm going to try and make sure the screen is off so that we have some battery left. It's less than 50%, and we still got probably another 11 hours of this to do. So, and I can't really keep it plugged in while the machine is running. So let me go ahead and get this seated back in here, and hopefully it'll go smoother than last time.
That's looking pretty close to where it was.
Yeah, that was pretty solid. All right, so while we're here, I'm going to go take a look. I know that some of you have been asking questions via Twitter, via the chat. Our fine folks have been compiling some of those for us. Let's take a look and see what some people have been asking. The new Motorola Razr sports a 6.2-inch screen. How many folds do you think it can handle? Well, that's what we're here to answer. We're going to try and figure that out. Our goal is to go up to 100,000. That should be sometime after midnight, although we got a little bit of a slow start, so that might push us past 1 a.m. or so. We'll see. Motorola would not give us any specific number that they were rating it at. And in fact, when we asked them that question at CES, they sort of were careful to dodge around it. They also did give us a statement today when they heard that we were going to be doing this test. And here, for Motorola, they say, "We recognize and advocate the need for testing new technology. However, it's important for consumers to know that CNET's fold testing environment does not replicate the one utilized by Motorola during product development. We performed extensive cycle endurance testing on the new Motorola Razr." So that's basically what we're doing. Not exactly the same way that they did it, but I think we're going to find some result of some kind by the end of the night. Again, the FoldBot isn't doing exactly what we anticipated. It is the modified version of the machine that we used for the Galaxy Fold. And again, SquareTrade did not have a chance to test it with his new phone before they handed it over to us. So I'm sure that they'll do a little fine tuning once they get it back. What other questions do we have at the moment? Let's see. Would you trade your iPhone for the Motorola Razr? I don't actually have an iPhone. I have a Pixel myself. Steve, do you have an iPhone?
I do. I might, actually. I mean, it does look cool. I like the feel of it. It looks very sleek. I know it's not like a high-end phone. You know, it doesn't have like great cameras and stuff. So that might be a selling point that, you know, that I'm not interested in. But I wouldn't mind having a phone that folds like that. It's a much more low profile, like smaller footprint in your pocket. So
that is one ding that some people have been giving it. The fact that it is $1,500.
That is expensive.
Yes.
And I'm not going to spend $1,500 on a... I won't even spend $1,000 on an iPhone, man.
For what are essentially mid-range specs on this handset. So it really is for the novelty and the profile and maybe the retro appeal. We used to have... earlier in the show, we had some old Razrs here. I'll go try and grab some of those.
Yeah, we should decorate the set with those.
And also, I wanted to find out if anyone watching used to have the old Razr. I had one. I think mine was hot pink, and only because that was a cheaper one at the time when I was getting it. I didn't necessarily need it to be pink. But if anyone at home still actually has their Razr in a drawer in the closet somewhere and wants to pull it out, go ahead and tweet us a picture of it or send it to us.
CNET Live, hashtag CNET Live.
You can send it to @CNET, hashtag CNET Live. You could Instagram it and send us a link to that. And we'll keep an eye out for those. I don't have mine anymore. I think I actually volunteered it for a project here at work and it never gave it back to me. But either that or I loaned it to someone and they thought it was a gift. I'm not totally sure. But regardless, those days are gone. All right, I think that's going to do it for this check-in. We are going to be here through the night, or at least some version of us. I'll be here. Steve will be in and out. We'll have some other guests coming in. I've got some activities to keep me occupied when we start getting into the wee hours. Hopefully that'll be entertaining, at least for me. But let's go ahead and let this machine run for a little bit, and we will come back at 3 o'clock Pacific time and see how it's holding up at that point. Talk to you later. So I'm sure you notice we're doing a little adjusting as we go here. The machine is a lot more mobile this time around than we had last time, so it's been drifting across the desk, and that means that our counter keeps moving out of its shot. So we've got the sandbag up there now to try and hold it still for a bit. But yeah, even you can see like, this thing is vibrating a lot more than the last time. So things are shaking around on the table, or cameras are shaking when it's moving, stuff like that. So bear with us while we get things dialed in. But we just passed 15,000 and continuing moving on. Talk to you later. All right, so what we've got here is the kill this one. So what we've got here is the FoldBot. This is folding the phrase. Sorry.
Already moved on. Okay.
So right now we're almost 2 hours into our test of the Motorola Razr here in the FoldBot. It's got about 17,000 folds under its belt so far. As you can see, the machine is folding, opening and closing the machine 2.5 times a second, almost 150. It's opening and closing it 150 times a minute. This is supposed to be about a 12-hour test. We're trying to get up to 100,000 folds. This machine was built by the folks at Square Trade because they test a bunch of devices for their. Sorry, let's line that part. So this is the same machine. This is the same machine we used when we tested the Galaxy Fold back in October. That phone survived almost 120,000 volts over about 14 hours. This one we're going to try and run 100,000 times. See how long that takes. See how it's holding up after that. We're checking in every hour, seeing how the phone is doing at that point. We're going to do another check-in here in just a few minutes. Square Trade was nice enough to let us borrow the machine before they even put the phone in it themselves. So we've been having a little bit of alpha testing going on as we've been doing this. We're noticing that the machine isn't always opening and closing it completely. But we still feel like it's still a good test of the hinge itself, even if it's not going through its full range of motion. Again, this is just an experiment. We aren't claiming this is a scientific test.
Awesome. And we need, what is his name? Who's coming here? Who's coming here again? I think it is actually outside the door. You're going to do that when he's here? Yeah, he's going to come here. He was just here.
Hey folks, what's going on? It is 3 o'clock here on the West Coast. Time for our check-in, but with me right now is Morgan Little.
Hi, everybody.
Our social
person.
What do you call yourself?
Kingpin,
How should we
overlord,
get you?
whatever you want to, whatever superlative you want to put
Overlord,
on.
I like ya. He's gonna bring us some of the feedback of what's going on the
Yep.
internet, people that are watching, people that are paying attention. But before we get to that, it's time to stop the machine and see how the phone is holding up. We're at just past 19,000 folds here. We're getting close to a fifth of the way through. So I'm gonna reach over, turn this baby off. Aggressive noise. Maybe while I'm doing this, Morgan, what's some of the feedback you've been seeing out there?
Yeah, so folks are obviously appreciative that we got some of the kinks worked out at the intro there. The big curiosity, is there's a lot of questions about the device itself, right? This thing is brand new, just came out to stores today. Depending on the Verizon store you went to, it might not even be available for sale, depending on what the associate tells you. So, folks are super curious about pricing. Duh, it's $1,500. But also, what's the storage capacity looking like here? How does it feel? Does it make that clack sound when you close it?
Right.
How much does it feel like the old device? Obviously, you can see it's actually
that
pretty
storage capacity. I got some specs
And I don't
here.
know off the top of my head, actually.
Oh, you do?
I don't.
Oh, you don't? It
which I
is
should.
128 gigs.
Ooh, yikes.
Not expandable.
That's a lot more than an iPhone.
It's a lot more than the original Razr, but
Yeah, that's true.
Standards have changed.
All right, so we've got this guy out of here. As we can see, the screen is still looking sharp. I don't see any visible indications that anything weird is happening. This, again, the almost imperceptible crease, still barely noticeable. Excuse me. Now, this is the big question, though.
Still got that weird crinkle sound to it,
Yeah.
It's a little unnerving to hear.
It's actually less than it was last time.
It actually
I feel
does seem a
like.
little bit quieter, which
Yeah.
could indicate that maybe that is something that when it's fresh, things are a little tight, and as it loosens up a little bit, some of those, whatever it is that's squeaking will sort of get broken in, excuse me.
It actually sounds a little bit like Baby Yoda if you listen to it with the right tone and tenor. It's a little...
As far as the crispness of the close, as Brian was demonstrating earlier, it doesn't have quite the same satisfying click, but it still feels good. Have you had a chance to touch one of these yet?
It's much heavier than you would expect, right? Like that was my first, the moment that I put it in my hand, I was like, oh wow, there's like some actual heft to this thing. Like, flipping it, it's got some momentum
Right.
to it. Whereas it's 87,000 years ago when this thing first came out. But you remember you're in like middle school, high school, and you just flip it, and it's a little tiny, little. At this point, it's like a little bauble, right? It's just like this tiny little thing that has no heft, and this thing
Exactly.
is beefy.
Especially this one doesn't have a battery in it right now either, so it's really
Oh,
light.
see that thing? I'm surprised it's not just floating away.
All right, well, let's put this back in, and then we can get to some of your questions and other notes. Turn off the screen again. Let's see, we'll slide this back around this way. And hopefully I can find that sweet spot again relatively quickly. I think there's also a lot of news today about the unavailability of the phone in stores, right?
That we ran into ourselves, and actually that's
right.
one of the questions that we've been seeing is, hey, can I actually buy this thing, right? And they're satisfying to hear that thing start up again.
Right. All right, almost there.
You know, obviously, this is tying into another question that folks ask. Why are we doing this to our review unit? Well, it's not a review unit, right? We got this ourselves. It wasn't one that we had pre-ordered, actually. The one that was pre-ordered that arrived early, that allowed us to do that great unboxing that Andrew Gebhardt did out of our Louisville office. That phone is in good shape, being well taken care of, unlike this poor little thing. But this is a phone that we scrambled to obtain this morning. I mean, you know, we were all on the same meetings and the same calls, trying to figure out,
Actually,
hey, is
this
anybody going to
particular
have this?
one is the one that Lexi pre-ordered.
Oh, it is the one that she pre-ordered.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Excuse me. Hers is the only one that actually, of those of us who ordered it on the 26th, hers is the only one that actually arrived on time.
So we
Although I
had
guess Louisville was also a pre-order.
just arrived early.
Just right early.
You know, and reports from folks on Twitter, both replying to our stuff and just out there in the ether. You know, folks are having an incredibly difficult time actually getting folks to sell it to them.
Right.
Whether that's because, oh, hey, we don't have any in stock, we might have had just really limited inventory at the onset, or because it's not being listed as eligible for sale at the counter.
Right.
So yeah, folks kind of coming up a little bit empty. You know, there's been some stuff about, you know, pre-orders being delayed, pre-orders being canceled. Some of us have gotten notes about it. Some of us haven't gotten notes about it, and they're just like vanishing into the ether.
The messaging has been very inconsistent.
Yeah.
Mine was sitting at my order status was sitting at being built for about a week, and then magically yesterday morning got an email. Oh, sorry, we're not able to keep up with delivery demand, but they did offer to, when it did finally ship, to include a $99 razor sleeve.
Oh wow,
which
that's great.
I don't know
you
exactly what that is. Whether it's more of a case, whether it's a little pocket you can slide it into when you're.
It'll really enhance the crinkle sound as
Exactly,
you're
yeah.
unfurling it. So it's got the crinkle on the inside, crinkle on the outside.
Right.
That's what you want. The
Perhaps it's made
all-encompassing
of-
experience.
Cellophane or paper or potato chip bag material.
Yep.
That'd be nice.
The other thing is, you know, obviously the elephant in the room, the foldable elephant in the room here, is Samsung, right? We're all expecting some kind of device, some kind of foldable thing from them during their Unpacked event. The question is, like, you know, based on the leaks, rumors, based on what you've experienced from Samsung's previous foldable, which one do you think is going to end up faring better? You know, limited experience with this one so far, but, you know, let's say the you know, whatever you want to have it, if it does end up being the Galaxy Z Flip, is that going to be your preference? Do you think that would hold up to this test better than what you're seeing from the Moto so far?
To be fair, I have not seen that much of the Flip myself yet, so I'm not sure what it promises. Personally, if I had to guess, I would say I think in the real world, maybe outside of the machine testing, the Razr feels like it might have a better chance of surviving through the long haul. Not just its hinge, but also the fact that the screen is protected most of the time when it's closed, so the part that has to fold isn't being exposed to elements as much. I actually do have the Galaxy here, and this is all there is this sort of separation when it's folded closed. It's sort of like at a wedge, which I feel like could put undue strain on this hinge over time. And just kind of more likely to. Feels like you could easily sit on this more or set things on top of it and do more damage to it.
You put that thing in your back pocket out of habit and then sit
Exactly,
down and suddenly you're like,
Yeah,
oh, geez, what did I just do to this thing?
Right. For the Razr, it folds a lot more close, like flat close. Very similar to this shape. The kind of chin sort of protects this bottom edge and just makes it more of like a flatter surface. And like you say, it has a lot of heft to it.
Yep.
This is a heavy phone too, but one thing I would say about this one, which I noticed before, is it has a great outside screen. Let's try and wake it up. There you go. I got some nice big external screen that you can actually do a lot of things on.
Yep.
And I like that it's kind of like phone shaped. When you if you talk on the phone like this, it's like an old candy bar phone.
Mm-hmm.
This one, from what I believe, you have to open it up to initiate calls. I think. I could be wrong.
You can initiate. I think it's a video call, but then to actually have the video call, you have to flip the whole phone open.
Oh, okay.
So you can even do like a video call from this device, and you have to flip it open to actually speak. So
Got it. But then, I think you can also have it closed. I think once you have it closed, you can then talk on your earbuds or whatever. And
if you have
that-
Bluetooth devices
Yeah.
or
So, I sort of like the idea that that little guy can fit in your pocket easier too. And I don't know.
have you put it in your pocket? Do you find that form factor, like that's into the thing, the big pro for the
I
Razr
actually
is the
have not
portability.
put this in my pocket yet. I will do that at the next break.
There we go.
Look forward to that, folks. That's going to be a big treat for you. Let's see. Just looking here, people have asked how many it's rated for.
Yeah.
Motorola
Good question.
did not give us an actual number. We actually had them on the stage at CES. Jessica Dahlcourt interviewed one of their, not their CEO, I don't think. I can't remember who it was.
This guy.
Oh, there he is right there. And he very diplomatically said that it has gone through rigorous testing. We expect it to do well in real world use, but came short of just actually giving us a actual number.
Yeah, so the 100,000 mark is not tied to any promise or pledge that Moto has made.
It's really just
our
our
number.
definition of how long I wanted to stay here tonight. We didn't want to stay here for 24 hours necessarily, so I didn't want to sign up for that. So that was a little bit more of a round number.
And how much time is that 100,000 count in terms of like an average person, right? Like how many years of use does that equal?
So Brian did some math earlier. He said that he had heard a figure that people check their phone about 75 times a day.
It's a
And
terrifying number to hear. but
Right.
Probably true.
so that came out to about 28,000 a year, I believe. So our 100,000 would be just shy of 4 years, or over 4 years. No, shy. Anyway, excuse me. But as I mentioned then, you don't necessarily have to open it every time you check it because it does have that external screen where you can see notifications, you can advance your tracks on your music player or your podcast player, whatever. So checking the phone isn't necessarily opening the phone. So it's hard to say exactly how many times you actually would open and close it during the course of the day. Now, granted, most of the time you're probably going to open it. But
Yeah. And you got to add in all the fidgety flips that you're going to do.
Exactly.
Like you get this thing so you can fold it,
Right,
So you can pass it around.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, you're impressing your folks, and you're like, hey, I have a foldable phone. These things exist.
Right.
And then they fold it 37,000 times, and then a kid runs away with it, and then you never see it again. But yeah, I mean, the other thing, and I've seen this both for the Fold and for the Razr, is, hey, is this a thing that you would ever see yourself, whether it's this year, next year? You've been spending a lot of time with these things. What would make you trade in your current phone for one of these? What would be that killer value proposition?
Well, like I said, I haven't really had a chance to mess around with this one very much, so it's not really fair to judge yet. I was pretty happy with the way that the Galaxy Fold functioned, and I thought it was actually a pretty decent sized screen that you could, I mean, your little phablet that you end up with is, it seemed like it would be great to use on the bus or whatever, like moving around. Video wise, I think it can end up being a weird sort of aspect ratio. You end up with a bunch of extra space.
And that is one thing that I was very surprised, like pleasantly surprised to see from the Razr. Once you put that thing sideways and you put it on Netflix, it's actually a fantastic viewing experience.
Yeah.
The aspect ratio is solid. It's not the best screen in the world, but it looks good enough. So, I mean, it is, it takes a little bit of getting used to. We were tinkering with some TikTok stuff on one a couple days ago because, hey, it's a vertical format. How does it look in a slightly different aspect ratio than what we're used to? And it takes a little bit of getting used to, like, just watching it. You're like, this looks a little stretched. What's going on here? Some of that is helped by there's a little padded space along the bottom, so you have that hinge that it folds into. And then there's a little, basically like a home button area that it floats a little bit above it.
Right.
That takes a little bit of getting used to once you start seeing that there, but then it becomes invisible. It's like a notch sort of situation. But that thing fades away when you put it on its side and you watch Netflix. So the entire thing becomes your screen. And it's actually a really good form factor for that. And I did not expect that personally. That was a wonderful surprise to see.
Well, that's cool. I'll have to check that out if this thing actually displays anything at the end of the day.
You can watch Blade Runner, but with some cracks in
Yeah,
it. If it does end up having any sort of issues.
Right. Yeah, my speculation at this point is really, I think the hinge is going to have more problems than the screen itself. Now, if the hinge starts to fail and come loose, then I'm sure the screen can probably tear very easily. Like it could easily, I'm sure it can just sort of start to disintegrate once we start going down that road. But we'll try and keep an eye on it so it doesn't go crazy and split into a million pieces. Well, Morgan, thanks so much for coming by and visiting, and thanks for feeding questions to us in the comments.
And one final question from the crowd.
Yeah.
When can they expect this test to be done?
We are running it to 100,000. I need to do some math again. We're a little over 20,000 now, and we've been running for 2.5 hours. So that would be 10 hours, 7.5 hours from now, which would put us past midnight, right? No.
Yeah, 7. That's a little around like 10:30, 11 o'clock maybe?
No, I think that's. I wonder if we're going faster than I thought we were going to. I need to figure that out.
We're sort of on track. At 3 o'clock, we had estimated 20,250 folds.
Right. Oh, so we're just past
So
that
we're
now.
like just a little bit behind by a couple hundred folds.
So then,
Cool.
yeah. Given that, sorry, my math in my head was not very good. If we stick on this pace, 100K should hit right around somewhere between 12 and 1 a.m. actually.
Okay, cool. So everybody should stay tuned until then. Leave this up.
And if they
Make
want to
sure-
interact with us, what's the best way for them to reach out?
So hit up our handle over on Twitter at CNET. We're also keeping an eye on pretty much every platform out there. So we're at CNET all over the board. Hit us up on Instagram. We have a post up in the feed. You can also holler at us over in stories. You can bug us over at Facebook. You can drop something into our YouTube community section. We have a post up on there. We're keeping an eye on that. So anywhere you hit us up, we'll be there. We'll be forwarding any major questions over that need to get addressed. But yeah, really appreciate you bringing me on and for giving folks another repeat of this amazing test.
Hey,
and
sure.
this satisfying sound in the background. It's really ASMR once you get down to it.
It kind of is, although
Really
this one
aggressive
is a
ASMR.
lot louder than the last one was, I
Yeah.
think.
I know
So-
you can hear it from like 50 feet away. It's very clear what we're doing here in the office today.
All right, well, thanks, Morgan.
Awesome,
And,
thank you.
We'll talk to you later on, and everyone stick around for a while. We're going to be here, like I say, probably through midnight, unless this thing breaks before then. So stick around.
How is the frame in there, Stephen? What do we need to do? There? Put it on the system.
everybody. What's going on? It's time for our 4 o'clock check-in. I'm Chris Parker, and joining me this hour is Juan Garzon from CNET Español.
Hello, everybody.
You might want some headphones, maybe, to hear me over
Yes,
this
for
banging
sure.
machine.
Sure. I know it's pretty loud. I mean, it's louder
Isn't
than
it?
I was expecting. Yeah. It's
Right.
Super loud.
Did you hear the Galaxy Fold when we had the
Yeah.
machine?
Yeah. I
this
guess
is-
a competition. Which one is louder?
I think this one's definitely louder. But it is just about 4 o'clock, and this is going to be our third big check-in of the day. We're checking in at the top of every hour, so make sure you come back at... Oh, I think it wants to stop right now.
Yeah.
All right, let's turn this thing off here.
I feel sorry sometimes for the phone. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rough. Man.
So, Juan, you're part of our CNET and Español team.
Correct.
What
What do I do?
Well, no. What, have you been seeing any conversation on your site in terms of the phone?
A little bit. I mean, everybody's kind of having fun with this, you know. I mean, everybody's wants to know when this thing is gonna break. I mean, it's interesting. It's new technology, so we know it's not perfect. I mean, we know what happened with the Fold, which was kind of unfortunate in a way. But the difference is this is a new kind of device, which it doesn't try to be a tablet. It's just a phone and becomes a little bit smaller. It's thinner. It looks a little bit more. I think it looks really, really nice, you know, overall. And it seems, I mean, at least seeing at the device, it looks nice. It doesn't seem that it has, I guess, show any damage at all. But we need to turn it on to see exactly if it's still
Yeah.
working or not.
Well, before I do that, well, actually, I can go ahead and do that while we're talking about it.
And it's brand new device, huh?
This is brand new. It came in
see,
just this morning at like 11 o'clock, about an hour before we went on the air. So the screen is coming on nice and clear. Again, I don't see any visual signs of any kind of damage in there. Looking at the body or the side hinge itself, I don't see anything particularly weird.
And we're over 27,000, huh? So still
Yes.
long way, but it's good.
Well, yeah, almost 3.5 hours, 27,000 folds, give or take. As you saw, the machine's being a little weird today, so that number's not totally accurate.
But it counts.
But now let's see. We've been looking at I think you've probably heard of the creaking noise that the hinge supposedly makes. Ours was doing
Let's
it
see.
before. It's hard to say how it compares to earlier.
It's definitely making a different noise now.
Is it better?
It seems to be getting worse. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me use my ear. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely sounds a little more pained
All right.
this time around. Here, why don't you take a look and see?
Let's see. I mean, the first unit that I saw didn't do this noise, but oh wow. Wow. Yeah.
Last time we opened it up, it
It's weird.
seemed like it was actually getting better, but now it seems like I think it is a little bit worse than.
But it's working. I mean,
It's working just fine.
No issues so far.
Yeah. It looks good to me. And you know what? One thing we talked about earlier, which some people were asking about. Oh, where is it? There's a little Easter egg.
The
retro,
classic.
Yeah, which Patrick showed me where it was the other day, but apparently maybe you have to activate it because it's not showing up here in the settings.
Yeah.
We'll look into that, and before the night is over, we'll make sure we show you the retro mode. But let's go ahead and pop this back in. So far, so good. Turn it off. Did you happen to have are you old enough to have had a Razr for the original version?
Yeah, but I didn't have it. I remember, I saw it and it was, of course, a very interesting device for the time, you know, but it was pretty expensive for me to actually get it. But I saw it, and of course it's very important for for the industry. Everybody knows. That's why I think most of the people are excited about this device. You know, the foldable. I mean, brings back some old memories about
the
this.
retro aspect of it.
Yeah,
Motorola is definitely banking on that.
I know. I know. It's really nice. I mean, it's an expensive device. I don't think everybody's gonna buy it, but I think it's important for the industry to, I guess, look ahead a little bit, since nowadays most of the phones are very similar. You know, so it's cool. I mean, I want to see how long does it last. Motorola doesn't say exactly how many times it needs, so it can actually fold. So that's different from Samsung. So that's why everybody's, I guess, looking forward for this test to see what happens. And yeah, it's exciting. Should I say now something in Spanish to say hi to everybody? Of course,
sure.
our audience.
Yeah,
which
why
is
don't you?
important.
This is
Yeah.
for those of us watching on the regular CNET
CNET.
channel. This is also streaming on the CNET Español YouTube channel. So.
Yeah, for those ones that don't know, I mean, we work in the same office. We do pretty much the same, just we have our own voice in Spanish. They do their own thing in English. Of course, we share some resources. We collaborate different, in different topics, different projects. But yeah, let's say in Spanish now.
Yeah, sure.
Bueno, saludos a todos los que nos están viendo en español, no solo en CNET en español, sino también, obviamente, en el canal de CNET, también en inglés. Estamos aquí probando el dispositivo que es el Motorola Razr, el primer teléfono plegable de Motorola, el segundo teléfono plegable más importante de la industria después de Fold, no necesariamente el segundo que se ha presentado, pero más importante, que está disponible precisamente hoy mismo en las tiendas. Ya se puede comprar por $1,499. Lo han doblado con esta máquina más de 27,000 veces, casi 27,230 veces aproximadamente es lo que tiene el dispositivo. La máquina no está funcionando de la mejor manera posible como nos gustaría, pero igual esto sirve como una prueba aproximada del uso diario, cómo podría funcionar o al menos doblarse, a ver si en algún momento realmente se puede romper esta pantalla. Obviamente sucederá en algún momento, pero no sabemos si lo va a hacer muy pronto o en realidad puede aguantar de manera prácticamente ilimitada en el uso de estos dispositivos que no duran toda la vida, pero con el tiempo estamos utilizando por más años. Generalmente lo actualizamos cada año, 2 años. Ahora muchas veces vemos teléfonos que duran hasta 3 o 4 años en algunos casos. I think that's all. I mean, of course, you can leave any comments in Spanish, English, depending on the channel. Even in the English, if you want to leave some comments in Spanish, that's totally fine. We try to check them, and I mean, you're welcome to keep tuned to this to see what happens to this Motorola Razr.
Thank you, Juan.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, as we've seen, this thing is pretty finicky today. Oh, and now I turned it on again by accident. Let's see, come on, baby.
I think the Razr maybe broke the machine instead of the machine breaking the Razr.
It's possible. No, it's definitely. I think this hinge is a lot more. It's a lot stiffer than the other one, so I think it has to work a little harder to close it all the way. Not quite. So, all right, to vamp, what do you do here, Juan? CNET, what do you review?
I'm in charge of the review section for Español, so I review any type of technology, mostly phones, because of course most of the users, they have a phone in their pocket, but I review from cars to tablets to smartwatches to headphones to laptops to anything you can imagine, actually. So I'm pretty busy all the time. Yeah, I'm pretty busy all the time. Yeah, I can keep going forever. But yeah, I'm pretty busy all the time. I mean, it's fun. It's fun, you know. I mean, if you guys don't know CNET en Español, you should check it out. It's different. I mean, we work in the same topics, of course. We do different topics sometimes, but it's a little bit different voice. We focus, of course, in something that it matters sometimes more for the Hispanic audience, and mostly, of course, not only in the US but also around the world, since we are from everywhere. We come from different places. Exactly, that's the website. So we cover everything. We have news, of course. We have also how-tos. We have reviews, as I was saying. We do videos as well, a bunch of videos. We have our own YouTube channel, which we're actually showing this live as well. We have videos in our site. We have everything. So we're in every show as well. CES, we were in CES. We're going to Mobile World Congress in a couple of weeks, and we will be also in the Samsung Unpacked just next week. So we will be there, and we'll take you all the information, all the new gadgets that Samsung is bringing as well. Then later on we have probably Motorola showing new devices, and probably LG's after Mobile World Congress and other companies.
Well, you just filled a lot of time there while I struggle with this thing.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
no,
It's okay. I mean,
all right. Oh, wow, you can see that this machine
it's getting
is
worse.
pushing all the buttons all over the place. All right. Let me start over here. I had luck earlier when I swapped it the other direction. Let me try that this time. Turn it off again. This is live TV, everybody.
It happens, yeah.
Although it's not TV, but you know what I mean. Slide it in there.
And if you turn it on without the device, does the same. Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Is anyone else getting warm in here? It's just me. Well, Juan, I don't want to keep you here. I'm sure you're very busy. So
It's okay. If I can help in any way, let me know. I mean, we need to make this work.
Can you build me a new machine?
I think that's pretty hard right now. I don't have the tools, and I don't know how to do it.
Come on. Just feels like it's getting tired.
Is it possible because the center of the fold is not right in the middle of the machine by any chance?
Well, that's what I've been trying to like slide it around to find that center.
What happened if the machine, try the machine, does
Yeah,
the
with-
machine close all the way without the
Yeah,
fold in?
that's what I was.
Just to make sure the
saying.
machine is not tired.
You need a nap, FoldBot.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so, so it's
Wow.
the phone holding up.
Here, I'll just let her do that, and then I'll turn it.
There is no way of, is there a way of sliding the phone in while the machine is closed?
Actually, hold on.
Ooh.
I don't know if this is due to trying to get it seated in there or not, but this is. I can definitely see why the machine's having a hard time with it now.
Do you feel resistance on the phone?
It's definitely resisting
Oh, really?
me trying to fold it here. Listen here. That noise is not supposed to happen for sure.
That is a new noise for sure.
And I have a feeling that's why it's not letting it close all the way. I can push it past there, but obviously I'm much stronger than a robot.
Wow.
And now, oh yeah, that's
Yeah, that's not good.
not good.
I mean, at least it's working, I guess.
Yeah, but I can definitely see why the machine isn't trying to fold anymore. I don't know if it's gonna even. We might be out of luck here, folks. I'll try putting it in there one more time, but I am not feeling very confident that this is gonna happen. But let's see. Yeah, when you sad, dramatic music, Steve.
I was just gonna search for something.
It's just not able to push it past the point. Sounds like I'm trying to steal it.
Yeah, I mean that's a good choice.
This doesn't seem like a very fair test at this point. Let's pull it off of here for a minute.
How about this?
I like it better. That one.
Yeah, it's called
better, yeah.
creeping anxiety, which is what we're all feeling right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, this resistance. Sorry, I keep showing it to the microphone as if it's really helping you. Yeah, so it's even really. Personally, I don't think it's going to work in this machine anymore. Which leads me to ask, what do we do now? If any of my bosses are paying attention and have any advice.
What should we do? Can I check it out to see
Yeah,
how?
sure.
Let's see. Oh yeah, feels different for sure.
Is it harder to close?
Yeah, yeah. Like before, it was more kind of fluid in a way. Now it kind of stops and doesn't. Yeah, doesn't want to go. Usually it goes, but. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's noisy as well, even more. Still.
Screen's still working now. It still looks good.
Yeah, still. I mean, everything seems perfect except the noise and when you once you close it.
Oh yeah. It's totally.
I guess maybe it's a little bit harder since this device is smaller than the Fold, so the machine has a little bit more travel.
Yeah.
You can feel it. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
as
yeah.
smooth.
Something happening in there. Whoop.
There's definitely some loose material
Yeah,
inside
well,
here.
$1,500 there.
Although it's actually loosening up more now that we've been sort of.
Little bit of oil grease, you know, in the middle.
Elbow grease.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it got tired. No, it wasn't the machine. It was the phone.
I wonder, now that we've loosened it up a little bit by hand, maybe this will actually give us.
Another chance.
Yeah, that was dramatic.
Yeah. If not, we can put the old one to see how well it performs while when we figure it out.
I don't think we can get that tightened up in here.
Can you push the machine a little bit, or you might damage?
Yeah, I hate to damage their piece of hardware. Looking at it from the top here, I don't know if you probably can't see it. Let me try and zoom in here. Hold on. Never mind that as well. All right. What do you think, Juan? I think we are done here.
Yeah,
To be
I mean,
honest. Steve, go ahead and kill that mic or the music for a second.
Cool.
Let's just try and hear. I think we've come to the end of our show. As you can, that clicking noise did go away, but there's definitely a hitch in the system when it folds. And
I mean, it looks fine to me from here, but
yeah, I was actually going to say
it's
still
hard to
looks
tell.
good, yeah.
Maybe it's. I mean, it should be just inside, no?
again, without having really had a chance to study it before we started, this
Pull it back just a little bit. It's not focusing right. There you go.
it feels like it's a little bit out of alignment here. It doesn't seem as straight as it should be. Now maybe that's how it always looks, and but it doesn't. They don't look uniform on both sides. There's that one, and there's that one. You know,
Well, 2700.
yeah, and it's not really. It's not.
It's 20,000 though, right?
Ah, yeah.
Right,
27,000. Yeah, true.
It's hard to say if it's a factor of the machine not being quite tuned properly to adjust for it or to hold the phone. Again, Square Trade had to sort of guess based on the specs that they were able to glean. They machined these parts, but never had a chance to actually put the phone in there before we tried it today. So not only were we experimenting with the phone, we were also experimenting with the device. And I think we found that we got to a point where neither one was willing to cooperate enough to get us to 100,000. So that's going to do it for our live stream today. We will continue to have a lot more coverage of the Razr. We'll have Patrick's full review. We will have more reactions of people seeing the new phone. That's actually being shot with another device as we speak. But stick around. Not stick around. We're leaving. Stay tuned to CNET and for all that coverage. And we will look forward to. I hear there's another phone called the Z something?
Galaxy Z Flip.
Galaxy Z.
That's the rumor. Yeah.
That's supposed to be coming before too long, and when it does, we will do our best to bring the machine back and put that through its paces too. So I'm Chris Parker. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.